Well, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of In My World podcast, a podcast where we jump into the worlds of all different types of people, all different ages, and learn about their mental health discoveries over the last 12 months. Last episode, we actually looked into a little bit about my story over the last 12 months, and we talked about burnout, we talked about anxiety, and a little bit about the importance of communication. But today we have my dad again involved with the podcast, and we're going to be diving into a little bit about his story and a little bit about his discoveries in the last 12 months. So to kickstart off the podcast, Dad, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so my name is Steve Bradfield. I'm turning 50 very soon, which is pretty exciting. I'm also in the same year I'm turning 50, having my 30th wedding anniversary to Joe.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Big shout out to Joe. Big shout out to Mum if you're listening right now.
Yeah, so I'm father of 2 kids. Yourself was the youngest, and Caleb, who is now 27. So 2 boys. I love the ocean. I'm a man of the sea. So I love being around the sea. I live near the sea. If I see the sea most days, I feel much better. And I love boats. I love going fast in boats, particularly.
So you're an adventure man.
Yeah. Motorsports, done a lot of things, and I love spearfishing. And one of the great enjoyments for me in the past probably 7 years is diving with my 2 adult boys, yourself and Caleb, and being friends as adult and doing good fun stuff together.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you to say.
And it's good for you guys to give me craze as well.
Oh, mate. I'll give you some craze if you're lucky. Christmas is coming up. So why do you think we asked you at 20 Talk to join the 20 Talk In My World podcast? What about your story makes it relevant for you to be on this podcast?
I guess for me, ever since I was probably 23 or 24, I've been working in the space of mental health, also spiritual development of people as well. I trained in seminary as a very young guy and was a youth minister to start with, working with young people on the street and being a counsellor and doing all that sort of stuff. And then I went into a few different fields and ended up learning a lot about trauma. So I think I've always had a passion for younger people, for being real with what's going on in the world, because I know what it's like to struggle, and I know what it's like to support people who struggle, because there's so many people that struggle.
Right. Okay. And tell us a little bit about your life growing up as a young man, say from 12 to 18.
My mum and dad both had plenty of struggles. Alcohol was a big thing in our family. Some mental health was a challenge as well, and I'm one of 8 kids. So it was a busy house. There wasn't a lot of time, and I moved out of home when I was just before I was 17.
Okay. And so you've had a pretty strong, wild upbringing with lots of learnings and lots of discoveries. That brings us to our first discussion, and we're going to be talking about 3 discoveries you've had over the last 12 months. Have you had a bit of a thought about what you're going to share today?
Yes, which is very challenging. Yeah. So I have 3 things I want to talk about today. The first one is it's okay to stop for a break and have a reset, which we'll go into. The second thing is that following a dream can sometimes, at times, feel like a nightmare.
Oh, gosh.
And the third thing is that routine is my friend.
Okay. Routine is your friend.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm interested. I love how you've created some nice titling around on yours. Mine was just one word. You're a bit of a poet, are you?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Well, tell us about your first one then.
12 months ago, I was an executive level manager in government. I was a chief HR officer, and I was doing a very hectic job managing the HR transition of 4 companies into one through a big merger, and it was very challenging. And we had COVID at the start of that process, and we had to unfortunately let go a lot of people at our work. So it was very challenging, very stressful, probably 4 or 5 years. I just felt a bit exhausted. I had long service leave. An opportunity came up for me to have a redundancy for some restructuring, and I just grabbed it. And I had 5 months worth of annual leave owing to me, and also long service leave. And I went traveling and just had a really good time. Just worked on my boat, worked on my house, and just did some creative stuff.
So let's just rewind back a little bit. What did it feel like for you being a HR manager, having to let off potentially a large amount of employees during COVID and potentially fire quite a lot of people?
For me, it was difficult in a way because I genuinely like people, and that's not always what HR people are off. Well, some a lot do, but there's some who are annoyed by people. But I actually genuinely like people, and the people we let go were really good people, but due to their, stance on the vaccination mandate, we had to be mandated to be vaccinated. Yeah, it was just a challenging thing, and there was nothing I could do. There was nothing really they could do. They had their principles, and we had to part ways, and it was a very challenging time. And for my staff who were having the discussions, I was signing off on a lot of letters, but it was very hard to even support the staff who were doing all the hard lifting. It was difficult.
So it sounds like, from you telling us a little bit about your story in the army, in seminary, in HR, you like to care for people, and you put a lot of energy into helping others. When do you get an opportunity to help yourself in this whole scenario?
I think that was my time that was having that break. I mean, the tendency was for me to jump right into, when you're a middle-aged guy, sometimes your role can define who you are, and not having a job for a period of time was actually challenging for me, but I had to confront some of those demons. So I think for me, last 12 months, understanding that it's okay to have a rest and to step out of the system is actually essential to know who you want to be about, what you've learnt over that period, what you're thankful for, what went well, what you could do better next time. So for me, that was a massive discovery.
And what does the word rest mean to you?
For me, I think I'm an introvert. By my role, I have to be an extrovert, but I'm an introvert really. So I like to have some time to myself. I like to chill. I like to go for a run. I like to be at the sea. I like to journal, that type of thing.
And what happens when you don't get those things? How does that manifest in your body and your mind?
It jacks up on me now. I've noticed that when I was younger, I could feel stress. I would just push it away and just push on because I had energy and that. But now my body tells me that I'm stressed. So I might feel a bit shaky, or I might feel I can't sleep or whatever. And my body tells me now. There's that book that says your body keeps score. My body is so truthful where my brain is not.
Well, it sounds like stress and burnout and working too hard has been a common theme across the podcast so far. Why do you think that is in this modern world? Bit more philosophical there. And I feel like it will be a thing that does come up a lot throughout the podcast as we do continue.
I mean, we want more. Like, I don't think we do quite well. I don't think in our society we just want to make things happen more and more. We get all these gadgets and programs to help us get more time so we can fill our life with more crap or more jobs. So, I mean, at the end of the day, your body can only run so many Ks per day. And, you know, the reality is if you can't regulate that in your mind through discipline, your body will do it for you.
Well, I wish I knew that a few months ago.
I'm still learning.
Well, tell us about your second discovery.
The second one is following your dream can sometimes feel like a nightmare. So for me, I've always worked for people, and I've always wanted to start my own business. So I felt like after 5 months of having a good break, I really felt like it was time to start my own business. So I started a company called Red Earth Culture and Wellbeing, which is a company dedicated to helping organisations better care for their staff. If they want to do more for their staff from a mental health perspective, if they want to help with retention, attraction and retention, if there's morale issues within teams or within divisions or within an organisation, an organisation will call me to come in and I do a deep dive and find out what the issues are. And then I engage the staff, find out what they think would be really good to move forward. And based on quantitative and qualitative data, I put a report together and give it to the management and say, this is what you can do and this is what the people think we can do to make people fire. So for me, I love helping people love work. And I love helping organisations become more efficient.
Right. Oh, can you help 20 Talk become more efficient?
Yeah, no.
No. Well, so you said starting your own business was a dream. How old are you now, Steve?
50 in 2 months. So my thing was that become a nightmare is that I've always had people to help me with things in my last team had 50 people in it. And my job was very different back then as it is today. Now I'm doing all my own admin. I'm trying to learn how to do PowerPoints. You're trying to help me putting presentations, marketing.
So what stopped you from pursuing that dream earlier on?
I think probably I needed to learn more about life, more about professional things. I'd done different degrees, et cetera, but that's only a small part of your development journey. So I think I was still doing my apprenticeship. So for me, how my dream is fantastic. It's great starting a business, but learning how to do all those marketing, sales, I mean, I'm just not that way inclined. So that's been a real challenge for me.
When you started the business, were you expecting to kind of pick it up quite quickly, or, you know, how did your expectations of what was going to happen compare to what the reality was?
Well,
and how did you respond to that?
I had a business degree which sort of prepared me somewhat, but just the whole vulnerability thing about going out there and pitching to people you don't have a clue. There's only so many people in your network before you have to start going out to new people. And that's really hard. People really want to trust you and know you before they let you into their life and dig around in their company. They have to know you first.
And so what messages were you telling yourself in the mirror over that time when you were confronted with having to reach out to new people and to almost put on this jacket of confidence when potentially you didn't feel like you had that confidence?
That's a hard one. I'm not one to look at myself in the mirror and give myself pep talks. I just think about what it is I feel I'm passionate about and what I know and what I can do, because I see things that other people can't see, and I can read people quite well, and I believe that and I know that. It's just a matter of me just pushing on and being courageous.
So what would be the lesson there for young people or people in general just listening about your dream and how it can turn and feel like a nightmare.
I think there's this thing, you follow your dream and it's all good, push hard and it's all good. But for me, I think dreams sometimes take a long time, and I don't even like the term dream in a way because it sounds a bit,
How you going?
How you going? So I like the idea of, I don't like the word passion as well because I think that's a bit, it doesn't quite suit. But if you have a belief in something and it rocks your soul and you feel like, yeah, this is what I need to do, then I think you just got to keep pushing and pursuing that, but understand that it takes a long time for that stuff to come together. So for me, I'm 50 and I'm only starting now, and that's okay. It's not that any other time in my life has not been productive or valuable. It's just that, it's learning each part of your story as you go, and as after a while you go through the journey, you go, oh, I learned how to do that. I can do this. I can do that. I can do that. And I'll go, wow, I can do quite a bit. And then you think, you know what? I'm actually a grown up now. Maybe I can actually offer to the world what I think the world needs instead of having to just be on wages.
And how has your level of confidence and security in yourself evolved over the last year since starting?
I think the detox of not needing to be seen to be someone with a career or profession for that 5 months that I had off was really important. And I'm Steve, whether people like me or not, I'm still Steve. I've an awesome wife, I have a great family. I've done a lot of great things. I'm very lucky. So whether the business goes well or not, I'm still Steve, and that's okay.
Perfect. Well, that brings us to our third discovery. Tell us about your third one.
So routine is my friend. So when you are busy, in my last job, I had a very busy job. I was working so many hours. I was on 2 boards. I was building a house. My life was full chockers. And I had to be very efficient with my life to get going, with my exercise, with my sleep, with my leisure time. And then when you don't have that for 5 months, you sort of go a bit like, you can do what you want and you just get a bit lazy and you don't have to be structured because some opportunity might come along, something fun. So you don't have a routine because you want to follow the wind.
Mm.
So now I've noticed that even though now I'm working, I'm not being as good with my exercise. I'm not being as good with my sleep. I'm not planning holidays. I need that in order for me, because I've got really good friends, Steve and Louise, who they're very good with routines, and I watch them in their routines and I'm jealous. But
so where you work so hard, you put all this energy into work, and then you say, yep, now is my time to rest. I'm taking this sabbatical. I'm having this time off. I'm going to recharge. And you almost go to the totally other end of the spectrum where anything goes. You sleep into 10 and you get super comfortable in that and you recharge. That's not a sustainable model, is it?
No, it's like being let loose in Chicho's ice cream shop with unlimited supply of ice cream. At some level, it's not going to be good for you. So I think discipline actually helps you to enjoy things, to grow. And me now, it's that thing that in order to be motivated, you have to act first and then motivation comes. So that's just hard for me at the moment. I've just got to retrain myself to be more disciplined and rest in discipline. I think I now see the value of that.
When we say the word discipline, I think people would probably...
Self-leadership.
Yeah, but even the word discipline, I feel like in society that word's now, it's a dirty word.
Yeah, it is.
If we're having discipline in our life, could that be positive?
Well, I mean, a lot of people I know go to the gym, right, and they have a routine. And that's discipline. And because they want to see results. I mean, I didn't get this body by
Well, lucky this is a video podcast so people can see him in the flesh.
I went to the gym twice. Look at me. But no, but discipline like running, swimming, I like to run. And I know that if I have a few weeks off or I have a month off and I go for my 5 or 6K run, my body tells me the whole way, Steve,
So how do you maintain discipline? And that's something that I personally struggle with is, I have these grandiose ideas around, going to bed at 9 o'clock or starting up at this gym or, integrating some form of self-care into my life. How do we get it past the 1 month mark and get it to the 1 to 2 to 3 to the lifetime mark? Or is that even reasonable to expect?
I like seasons, and if you want to do something for fun for a season, do it. Like, for example, running or the gym. I had a season of going to the gym for 6 or 8 months, and I went 4 times a week, and I liked it. But then I didn't want to do it anymore, so I stopped, and I'm okay with that.
4 times a week to Chicho's ice cream.
Yeah, but I think like things like, you don't want it to become a chore. You just find something else to do. And I think hobbies, leisure, anything that's recreational for your well-being, I think just do something that you enjoy or that's of interest and do it to a time when you feel comfortable that you've had your feel and move on. That's okay. And I think it should be fun.
Okay. Well, we are getting to the final couple of questions. So this is my signature question. With all the discoveries you've had, what opportunities do you have to make sure that these last in your life next year?
Okay. I think for the discipline one, I used to have a particular routine that I did, and I'm going to go back to that routine now. And when I finish work or, if I'm working on a project or proposal, I'm going to make 5 o'clock as the time that I go for a run on whatever day, and I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to force myself to do it. So there's a couple of things that I've just got to get going. I've already started, which is good. So that's one thing. I think continuing to follow my passion about what I'm doing for a job, and if I get knocked back on a proposal or I don't hear back from proposal, I guess I just got to look for the longer term picture and not be so bummed out like that it's a rejection of me, when at the end of the day people have other big things going on in their world, and my thoughts on my ideas about moving forward doesn't always align with other people. So I think I've got to be okay with that. So I think I just got to be a little bit more kinder, and knowing that my business is only so new and that people are saying it's going to be 1 or 2 years before, things are going to start to fire. And I've got to be patient. So that's for me, that's a big thing. Yeah, I think in relation to rest, I think I'm going to one thing I've started to do is I'm a big journaler, and I've got a little spot in my new house. We've just built a new house, and I've got a swinging chair out the back, and I've been going out my swinging chair each morning and just.
You're so boho, mate.
And for me, that's a discipline, but I feel like that's really been helping me out. And my little dog Harvey sits with me, so that's cool. So for me.
Do you wear all your white linen while you're riding, looking majestically out into the street?
Yeah, and I put my cardi on as well. Yeah. No, so for me, they're just things that I'm learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And when I just looked down, I realised that I actually missed my question that I was meant to ask you based off the segment that we had in the last episode where I was meant to leave you a question. So I've gone down and actually written a question.
Okay.
No, it's a positive one. What do you truly love about yourself?
What do I truly love about myself? I think for me, over the years working in the emergency services field, people with trauma, as a result of doing that work, I actually ended up with a bit of PTSD myself, which is pretty much like your story. You go out doing something and then you end up copying it in the process, which is very hard. So for me now, I feel like I can listen to people well and very deeply without having to chat all the time. I can do it through just my presence, and I think I love to do that with people. I love to hear people well and what's going on in their world, and truly listen and acknowledge that and even challenge it as well. So if I need to, or if they want me to. So I feel like that's one thing I've learned well, and I think I'm okay with that. Do I love myself for that? I'm not sure. I think that's something I've got to... Yeah, that's a big question.
Well, I love that about you.
Oh, thanks, mate.
It's definitely had an effect on me over the years.
Thank you. That's good.
And I've seen its effect it's had on many people around you, including my friends, in work situations. People gravitate towards you and get so much out of the conversations. And you don't even need to say too much for them to receive. So a big thank you from all those people around you.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the end of episode 2 of In My World podcast. I want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for learning about Dad's story. We're going to be moving forward interviewing new guests, whether that be people of influences, people from the local community, or people just around our network. So please join us.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Dad and myself, we now double up and we double team interviewing people.
Yeah, so. And if anyone has any ideas of people that they think that we should talk to, then I'd really love to hear that in the comments, and we will do our best to line something up.
Let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you.